Hello, my name is Michael Ramage. I'm the director of the Cyber Education Research Center, and today I am joined by Lauren Proehl. Lauren, how are you?
Good. How are you doing?
I am good. So let me just get into it. What is your name and what do you do?
Yeah, so I'm Lauren Proehl. I do cyber defense for Marsh McLennan. My official title is Director of Global Cyber Defense, which is like a very fancy way of saying I make PowerPoints and like manage a whole bunch of teams. But I have the Security Operations Center, Cyber Threat Intelligence team, threat hunting team, and detection engineering team.
Well, that sounds like a lot, but like a lot of fun, actually.
Yeah.
Well, so you don't just get a job like this. You have gone through the career journey like most folks. So share a little bit about your journey to get to where you're at today.
Yeah. It's a different journey for everyone. And I just want to say, right, you don't have to come in being super experienced in security. In fact, a lot of folks and a lot of companies prefer that because you don't have the bad habits. We can teach you everything that you need to know. In high school, I thought that I wanted to be an international relations major to go work for the government and do like Peace Corps work and use Spanish. And then my dad was like, "Hey, you're pretty good at computers. Have you considered going in for a computing degree?" And I wanted to get as far away from home as possible, but still like pay in-state tuition, which was Murray State. It was best of both worlds for me. And then it was also a super small school with a really tight-knit program. When I went to Murray, I actually started as a CIS major, the Computer Information Systems major, and I took a Visual Basics course where I had to write code by hand, and I almost failed out of school my sophomore year. I got like straight C's for 2 semesters. I was really lost. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I was really struggling. And I took TSM 101 and had my first course. And I was like, wow, this makes sense. I love this. This is everything I ever wanted to do. And transferred into the TSM program, which is, for those of you who are in the program now, the former name, right, of the program. And it was really training to kind of be a network engineer, right? I was going to run cables. I was going to configure routers, switches, diagnose connectivity problems, all of that. And my junior year, I took a class with Wes Spencer on operating systems, and he had this little piece about cybersecurity in there. And this was still when the field was kind of emerging. There weren't a lot of degrees in cybersecurity. And he answered all my questions, gave me an insight of what he was researching, and I fell in love. I took whatever security classes we had at Murray at the time. I think there were only like 2 or 3. And then started applying for internships. And I actually was looking for a project management internship. I wasn't looking for a technical internship because that's not my strong suit. And I got very, very lucky. I applied to a small firm in Kansas City. I looked, I think, a 6-hour radius from Murray. So I looked at Nashville, I looked at St. Louis, I looked at Chicago, Indianapolis, Kansas City. And I got a call back from a very small firm in Kansas City called United Lex. And they said, "Hey, you're not a project manager. We think you'd be better in security. And we actually think you'd be better as a full-time employee. Do you want to come out and start our SOC?" And I was like, "Well, I have a semester left to graduate. Does that matter?" And they're like, "As long as you graduate and you promise to do it, totally fine with that." And I was able to work with the professors at the TSM program to finish my degree online, and had a full-time job before I graduated, which was very foreign concept. I ended up bringing 3 TSM graduates with me to start the SOC program at United Lex, and just worked my way up, worked with people I trusted. I had a really, really great boss right out of school that, told me, "Hey, you should aim to work on interesting work with interesting people. The money will follow. The money will come. If you dedicate yourself to learning as much as you possibly can, opportunities will open up abound for you." And 3 years later, I went to CenturyLink to head up their incident response team from a technical perspective. A year after that, I got my first opportunity as a manager, and started a brand new team at CenturyLink for the internal threat hunting operations. And then a year after that, Marsh McLennan came knocking on my door and said, "Hey, we've heard what you're doing. We want you to come manage our threat hunting team and our CTI program." And that has compounded They asked me to take over the SOC. We're starting new initiatives with detection engineering. At the same time, like I've maintained, I just want to work on interesting things with interesting people. And that's where I go, right? The compensation kind of starts to even out after about 5 years in your career. And I want to learn as much as I possibly can. This year, I'm learning about budgeting and accounting, and it's not, super cool, but it's what I have to do to kind of get to the next level.
Well, that's really good. That's a cool story. And speaking of that, you have done a lot and have been in a lot of different areas. So whether it's with your current company or one of your former ones, share a cool cybersecurity story, experience, project, something that you have done throughout your career.
Yeah, so there's a lot of stories I can't talk about because it's under NDA. But most of the cool ones I can talk about always center around building a team. So at CenturyLink, I was working incident response. I was working like, I don't know, 60 hours a week. I was exhausted. And I was like, there's got to be a better way to stop the bad guys before they get in and like wake me up at 3 a.m. and everything's on fire. Like, how can we move the needle back a little bit? And I started learning about threat hunting actually at United Lex. And I was like, hey, I remember reading about this. Maybe I can do something about it here. And I was like, hey, I think we can be more proactive. We can go find threats before they become bigger problems. And I talked to the CISO at the time and he said, yeah, you know what, we're going to grant you this opportunity. I gave a presentation about, hey, here's the team I want to build. Here's what I think we can do. Here's some metrics. Here's why it's important. Here's what everyone else in the industry is doing with it. And we're kind of behind. And then they gave me 2 of the strongest incident responders from our IR team and said, okay, go start and make magic. And it was, I hate to be cheesy, but it was like one of the best experiences of my life. The people that I worked with there we're still good friends. Like I'm going to one of them's wedding next month. We still collaborate on issues and pick each other's brains. And it was really kind of like those cheesy movie montages where you see people like, making robots and think tank and stuff. We would just push each other to be a lot better. And ever since then, like building teams and building different functions has really been a highlight of my career.
Well, that's awesome. And actually that sounds like that would be a lot of fun to build it from the ground up. And it sounds like you've done that actually a couple of times.
Yeah.
Well, so a lot of students will be watching this and they want to get in the areas that you're in. So what is a tip that you would give them as they just start out in their cybersecurity careers?
Yeah, so the advice will be different depending on which angle you want to go, right? If you want to go technical, the best thing that I can recommend is learn as much as you possibly can. Like be a sponge. One of the things that really helped me in my first 3 years out of school, every meeting I was on, I took notes and I asked follow-up questions of my peers and my bosses. And I was that like annoying 5-year-old that was like, why do we do this? Why is, this log logged and the other log's not? Why is the sky blue, right? Can you explain this to me? And if I wasn't getting answers, I'd keep asking until they said it in a way that made sense to me. If you're wanting to go into management, one of the things that I would highly recommend working on is your soft skills early on. Start getting comfortable presenting, start getting comfortable making PowerPoints, deliverables, right? If you're in the program right now and you're having to do lab reports, make them prettier, make more graphics, make it very, very easy to understand that potential impact. And soft skills are important for the technical folks as well, but not to the large degree that it's played since I've been in management. I've been kind of behind the 8 ball because I was so hyper focused on being a technical rock star that I didn't focus on developing, my speaking or my presentation skills.
Yeah, those are good pieces of advice. Well, let me ask one last question. Yeah. Students are always wanting to know what certifications should they pursue, if any. What would you recommend to somebody that's just getting out into the industry?
So I don't normally recommend certifications. I don't think they are required to be successful in this industry. Just like I don't recommend graduate programs usually right out of school. the best indicator of you being a good potential candidate is going to be experience. And you can get that without working a job, right? You can do Cyber Patriot, you can do Cyber Cave, you could volunteer. Those I usually value a lot more. You can even write a blog. What I will say for some folks, a certification can be a difference maker, right? If you're an underrepresented minority who might be passed over by the normal system, if you kind of want to get that extra edge, it can help. I had kind of a low GPA, and so I pursued certifications as a way to augment and show like, hey, I'm not just my GPA. That said, for most of you students who are on the line, I would recommend going after your Security Plus. I think it's $250 to $300 with the education discount. It gives you a wide range of knowledge across multiple different domains of security and technology, and it'll get you started. And then it also can give you a better idea of like which path you may want to specialize in. For those of you who are early career, 1 to 2 years, if your employer offers the potential, I would go after SANS. GCIH is kind of the gold standard for investigation in blue teams. GPEN is kind of the gold standard for red teams. But the other thing I would recommend is Chris Sanders' training. He's got a lot of great early career training that is not break the bank, that I always recommend anyone pursue. And we fight for that for all of our analysts coming out.
Well, that's really good. That's actually really good feedback. And this has been really good. And thank you very much for your time today. Any closing comments?
No, Murray State's an awesome program. If students ever want to reach out, I'm always happy to have a conversation on career direction or help out where I can. I'm not in a place where I can offer a formal mentorship right now, but I'm happy to connect you to people and communities that can help you get out into the career, and go Racers.
Awesome. Thank you very much. And thank you for your time today.
Thank you. Appreciate it.